Hello everyone, I'm back again. How are you? Well, I'm going to talk about again some of the things that happened in the past, especially about me being so unlucky. Let me put this camera down just a little bit. How is that? Probably better that way. Alright, maybe not. But anyways, we'll talk about, when I was 18 years old and stuff, I had, especially when it come to vehicles and stuff, I was very unlucky when it come to getting stuck or tires blowing on me or mechanical issues and stuff in cars. And I just didn't listen to people whenever I'd get talked into stuff, like on a Friday night. And you know how when your gut tells you something, when it tells you, hey, it's a Friday night, you might want to stay home tonight, and all your friends say, hey man, let's go party, dude, and you're like, nah, go ahead, I'm fine over there. Well, let's just go get something to eat, man. I really didn't want to go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night or any night, but I remember one time I was talked into going out, and think of that time I was married and had my wife with me, and kind of my stepsisters right there, and she had, one of my kind of stepsisters got into a fight with her boyfriend at the time, I think it was. And like I said, I'm trying to remember a lot of this stuff because this has been many years ago. But we went to the International House of Pancakes. For all you young children, that's a big restaurant that has a lot of windows in it, and you can go there and order pancakes. So, International House of Pancakes, and we had ordered, I remember going, and we sat in a booth. And my wife was here, and my stepsisters, and all of them. Well, anyways, we had ordered our food, and it didn't come yet, so we were sitting there waiting on it, and sitting in a booth, and I looked out the window. You get these big windows on the side over here next to the booth, and I looked out. It was kind of dark, getting dark, and I looked over there, and there was my stepsister, kind of, her boyfriend. I don't think it was that. I think a boyfriend, and he was trying to get her attention, and he'd, tell her, and she was trying to ignore him, just, like that. And anyways, I don't know, I think it was just making him more mad. And I remember him, like this, and she just ignored him. And I was like, he wants you to go outside of there. And so anyways, she didn't go outside. She sat in there, and we were still waiting on our food, and he knocked on the glass over there. I think he walked over there and knocked. I think he had a couple of his buddies with him, but she just ignored him. She was ignoring him, and then they had just brought our food. We hadn't had a chance to eat yet, and they brought all of our plates and sat down there and sat them in the booth and everything. And the waitress, she looked out the window, and I kind of glanced out the window just as this guy was running. He ran to the window, and I He didn't know exactly what he was doing, but I kind of got an idea. So I grabbed my wife, my stepsister, and slung out of the booth. Slung them out of the booth onto the floor. I went out the floor too, and he drop kicked that window, and it busted that window all to pieces. And the glass went all over the table and food, and the waitress come over there and said, here's your chill. She wanted us to pay for that food that was sitting on the thing there all busted up. Well, anyway, the cops come out there, and they pretty well said, and I think they were looking for the guy after that. So, but yeah, got talked into going out on a Friday night. That's what happened. Again, after that, if people would ask me to go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night, and I'd usually tell them, nah, stay home. Now, like I said, I'm getting unlucky one about going out nighttime, having my car break down or something happening and me end up in trouble, or going out to, a nightclub, being talked in, hey, back in the 80s, I remember Bumpers nightclub over there on Main Street. I remember you guys remember Bumpers in Sarasota. Well, anyways, was talked into going there, and that was Friday night, late. Like I said, I never followed drinking, so usually they order something and it would just sit there at the table. But anyways, it was probably 2 o'clock in the morning time to come to leave. There was this guy, he's starting something in the parking lot, and then it come time to leave, and they was bouncers and cops and everything. The guy had started all kinds of problems. Then a swarm of cops come out there, and they was checking everybody's ID and everything, and had all of us out there. And I thought, I should have stayed home. So, I remember a time when I was 18 years old, and I had went to Port Charlotte, and I was still dating my girlfriend at the time, and my wife. We got married, but I was dating her at the time. So usually a Saturday I'd drive down to Port Charlotte on my motor scooter and come back Sunday night usually, and I happened to be coming back late. It was Sunday night after dark, and I'd come up 301, 441, same road, I think it was. Yeah, 301. But it got dark, and this was back before. I think now, if you go down that road, it's probably all businesses now. But back in the days, it was a lot of woods and a lot of scary areas. So my tire had popped on my motor scooter. My front tire, I think it blew a tire. Hey, tires wasn't that big, but I left it on the side of the road. Now, thank goodness I didn't have to be at work till the next day. So I was coming back, my tire popped, and I had to get out there, and I was probably. But yeah, it happened in Northport, about in there. So, I lived in Sarasota, so I had to get out and, do the old dumb hitchhiking. I got out there and started hitchhiking, and it was, I'd say 9:30 at night. There was few traffic on there. Nobody had picked me up. Being nighttime and walking down the road, I think people were still cautious, and they just didn't want to pick you up and take you and give you a ride. So I had to walk, and being 18, walking on the road now, a lot of you people, if you've ever walked in the nighttime, down a road, which is, I think 301 might have been 4-lane, I don't know, might have still been 2-lane still in Northport. And every little noise, you hear panthers on the side or something making noise over there. It could have been raccoons, scary big teeth raccoons. But anyways, you're walking in the middle of the night and there's no cars. It was about the time there was no cars. Every once in a while you'd see a headlight come, and most of the time you're in the road, walking in the road, because you don't want to go to the side of the road because you're scared. So anyways, I did get picked up. Guy had stopped. I remember he had a little small car, big heavy set kind of a guy, and I had to kind of move beer cans out of my way to sit down in this car. And he said, "Well, where are you going?" I was going to Sarasota. So he's like, but he kept drinking, and he was riding and drinking, and we got a little ways up there, and I'm scared, I'm hugging the door handle and just things like that. And there was a construction site going on up there, and there was those, back then they had those kind of pylon cone things sitting on the side, not the little cones, sitting on the side of the road, kind of right there on the thing, and I'm scared. The guy's drinking, and every once in a while, he ain't say much, but he, I don't know if he knew I was scared or he was just too drunk, but every once in a while you'd hear him thump, or he'd hit a cone. He'd hit a barrier cone, and, and a little bit later, he'd kind of hit and me being a passenger side, like that. So he's like, "Well, where'd you say you had to go?" And right about here's where I got to get off. I sleep in the woods over there. So anyways, he didn't want to let me out because, it was dark, and he's talking about, "I could take you to the gas station up the road up there," and I'm trying to at least open the door if I had to, but his door handle didn't work. It pulled, but checking to see if it was unlocked, and it wasn't unlocked. But I told him, "Hey, it was a gas station right there." I said, "Here, just drop me off at this gas station." Then nighttime, and him drinking, and me wading around in beer cans. I knew if we got stopped, they'd try to say, he'd say, "Hey, kid over there was doing all that drinking, and I was praying." So anyways, I got out right there, and I continued walking. I think I'd rather took the chance. So I eventually got another ride from the gas station up to Sarasota, and 301. I got home, and it's some scary at nighttime, and you think I'd learned my lesson by then, but no, I got out there again and again, going to Sop Choppy to see my dad. Had a little small car, and now I had a job in Sarasota, or Bradenton. I was living in Bradenton. Well, my car wouldn't start up there at my dad's house in a little town called Sop Choppy, which is up on the panhandle up there. So I said, "Well, I'm going to have to walk home. I'm going to have to walk back to Sarasota, or at least hitchhike, because I had to go to work, and I couldn't get off my job. I had done spent 2 days up there, and I needed to come back." So he said, "Well, if you wait till daytime, I can give you a ride at least some way." So he didn't want to give me a ride all the way, but he, and it was nighttime still. It was probably about 4 in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning. So I had to get out and start walking. And again, if you've ever walked in the nighttime on a 2-lane road in a small area, and up there's bears and cougars and raccoons and, pigs and possums and homeless people. And so, I'd look forward to seeing a homeless person, but there was nobody. So you walk. You walk in the middle of the road. Everybody says, hitchhike on the side of the road. But yeah, if you, anybody that knows, if you're out in nighttime and walking and everybody says, why you walk in the middle of the road, you see the line's reflective maybe off the moonlight, and you see that line in the middle of the road, so you walk to that line because you look left and you hear a noise, and you look right and you hear a noise, you can always run to the opposite side of the road. Or, if you're courageous enough to run straight down the road. So, I heard noises in the middle of the night. There was so many noises, and I thought, as long as I can make it till the sun comes up, I'll be alright. And there was no cars. You would think a car would come by. You'd think people go to work at that, 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning. They didn't. Nobody was there on that road. So, there was stuff out there. Whatever was out there was out there. And, I took times where I ran down the middle of the road and back on the side, and I'd look both ways. I was so scared, I think I was probably in my early 20s then, but I still was scared. And it's just one of those things. If you're unlucky, or you're going to be in an area like that, or you're going to be up there, you might want to have you a good vehicle or a backup plan. Or there was no Ubers. There was no, everybody carried, big cell phones with them and mace and all that stuff with them. It was, it was just us and older cars and stuff like that. So anyways, Friday night, Saturday night, your friends want to go out partying and everything, make sure you got an Uber. Make sure you got a backup plan. Make sure whenever the cops come out there to take you to jail for, your friend, shot the middle finger up at one of them police officers and they want to take you to jail, make sure you got a backup plan. It's 3 in the morning, for gosh sakes. So, or stay home. That's the best bet. Well, anyways, this just going on to let everybody know about, make sure you have a backup plan. And good backup plan would be to subscribe to my channel and like it and everything else. That way you can leave some comments down on the bottom and let me know about your 2 a.m. walk down the middle of nowheres, and let me know some of the bad experiences you've had of going out and things like that. Just, it's good, subscribe and click that thumbs up and do all that stuff, but I also read comments. I've got another channel called SoBerry Stuff, and, we do a lot of Family Guy stuff over there, and people do leave comments, and if you notice, I'll read them. So, leave me some comments, and let me know if you don't like my videos, or you do like my videos, or, hey, wish you'd shut up and do other stuff. At least write something, that way at least I know. Leave that thumbs up or thumbs down, at least YouTube will know. Up there somewhere, so I try to leave a link to stuff. So anyways, thanks for watching me. This is another pointless talk. So I do a lot of these talks because of my kids. I want them to know what I used to do when I was young. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. God bless everybody and take care.